Hi there, good evening and welcome to this special Sunday broadcast on Republic TV. Starting tonight, we at Republic are going to bring to you three major stories in the long-form format. Stories that look ahead to the coming week and beyond. Stories that are going to hit the headlines. Stories that matter to India's politics and geopolitics alike, which are going to impact our march to progress from the present and into the future. That's why every Sunday, we're going to give you a heads up on news for the coming week so that you viewers are forearmed. After facts in detail, I would also have a conversation with an expert so that you get the complete picture. Let's get going tonight. I bring to you three stories that are shaping up as we speak. First one, looking forward to Dhaka. Its usurper regime under Mohammad Yunus is already wobbly. There are signs that it might collapse under its own weight. Those who supported Mohammad Yunus post the July turbulence last year are now questioning his intent. Is he going to survive this turmoil? We take a look. Second, after Operation Sindoor, India is readying the Indus water bomb. Having kept the 1960 treaty in abeyance after Pahalgam, even as our diplomatic teams seek to change the discourse around the world, the course of the rivers, part of the IWT, is being affected on the ground. A churn has begun from New Delhi to Jammu and Srinagar to make sure that in the soonest possible time, first, we can utilize our due share and then make sure that Pakistan pays for every drop it was getting undeservedly. Tremendous ground reportage on then and then. River water sharing expert Brahma Chalani joins me. And finally, the third one, but the biggest headline of the coming week perhaps, that we are looking forward to. National Security Advisor Ajit Doval is set to visit Moscow to firm up India's defense supplies. Remember friends, India officially maintains that Operation Sindoor is not over yet. Are we looking at some action again in the near future? A lowdown first, and then India's former Foreign Secretary, Kanwal Sibal, unlocks the geopolitical dynamics before they play out over the next week. That's how the looking forward looks tonight. Story number one, on the future of Yunus in Dhaka. Story number two, on India changing the course of Indus River system brick by brick. And story number three, on National Security Advisor Doval's Moscow visit. Let me get you the headlines first. India has officially overtaken Japan to become the fourth largest economy of the world. The much-awaited announcement was made by CEO of Niti Aayog, who confirmed the achievement of India becoming a $4 trillion economy, citing IMF data. He said, and I quote, "The Indian economy has now set its target on surpassing Germany for the number 3 spot, something that Niti Aayog believes India can achieve in the next 2-3 years. India continues to remain the world's fastest growing major economy and is the only country expected to record over 6% growth over the next 2 years. On the back of the 10th Niti Aayog Governing Council meeting, Prime Minister Modi chaired a crucial conclave of the chief ministers of the NDA in New Delhi today. The meeting saw over 20 chief ministers, 18 deputy chief ministers and several union ministers in attendance. 2 key resolutions were passed. The first hailing the success of Operation Sindoor and the second one on caste census. All NDA chief ministers have given their consent to the proposal of caste census. JP Nadda, the BJP president, cleared NDA's official stance. He said, "We don't do caste politics, but stand for justice for the deprived." Rashtriya Janata Dal chief Lalu Prasad Yadav has expelled his elder son Tej Pratap from the RJD for 6 years, citing irresponsible behavior and deviation from the family's values. The patriarch's decision comes just a day after Tej Pratap claimed his social media account was hacked. Yesterday, a Facebook post surfaced from Tej Pratap's profile in which he reportedly spoke of a 12-year relationship with Anushka Yadav. The 122nd episode of Prime Minister Modi's monthly radio program Mann Ki Baat aired today. Most notably, Prime Minister's address found mentions of the transformation of Maoist-infested districts of Gadchiroli in Maharashtra and Dantewada in Chhattisgarh. From historic connectivity through bus services in the villages of Gadchiroli to record results in board examination in Dantewada, Prime Minister hailed the socio-economic transformation of parts of the nation once caught in the grip of Maoist terrorism. Big claims made in the U.S. Worldwide Threat Assessment report by the Pentagon. U.S. claims Pak military's top priorities in the next year to remain on cross-border skirmishes with neighbors. The U.S. raises the alarm on Pakistan's nuclear ambition, says it's focusing on modernizing its nuclear arsenal. Washington named Beijing as Pakistan's primary supplier of weapons of mass destruction, raises the alarm on Pak's nuclear procurement spree. And Chief of Defence Staff General Anil Chauhan arrived at the Northern Command headquarters of the Indian Army in Udhampur in Jammu and Kashmir. The CDS met the troops at the Northern Command and congratulated them on the success of Operation Sindoor. Welcome again, friends. A major political storm is brewing in Bangladesh. Just 9 months after Sheikh Hasina was ousted in a dramatic uprising, the man who replaced her, Nobel laureate Muhammad Yunus, now finds himself under fire, with the military pressing for elections and the streets simmering with unrest. Is Dhaka heading towards another power shift? Our special report traces the rise and possible fall of Yunus as soon as this coming week, maybe. And more importantly, what it means for India and the region. Take a look.
(1971) के हम पर थोपे गए युद्ध में बीएसएफ के जवानों ने जो वीरता दिखाई, जो योगदान दिया, उसको ना भारत कभी भूल सकता है, ना कभी बांग्लादेश ने भूलना चाहिए.
They say you cannot change your neighbors. But in 1971, the Indian Armed Forces changed that axiom. For 53 strong years, India gave its best to maintain a healthy partnership with its newest neighbor, Bangladesh. However, it all changed on August 5th, 2024.
ছাত্রী ভাই বোনদেরকে স্পেশাল থ্যাঙ্কস. আপনারা দেখতে পাচ্ছেন আমি
What started off as a students' movement against the reservations given to descendants of freedom fighters in Bangladesh turned out to be a well-planned operation to oust Sheikh Hasina in the first year of a historic fifth term as the Prime Minister.
And this is the responsibility we take together, and you'll be here with us in that dream, making that dream. They shook the whole country by their speeches, by their dedication, their commitment. They said, you can kill us anytime you want, but we are not giving up. And he is known as to be the brain behind the whole revolution.
And when the dust settled in Dhaka, it was this man who emerged out of nowhere at the helm of affairs. They call him Professor Muhammad Yunus, Chief Advisor to the interim government of Bangladesh, legalese for the unelected ruler of Dhaka. A man touted as the banker of the poor by his Western backers, Yunus began his journey in 1983 with experiments in microfinancing through his Grameen Bank. Projecting himself as a revolutionary, he cultivated a strong relationship with the Clintons. He called Hillary a friend. He even secured the Nobel Peace Prize in 2006 and the US Presidential Medal of Freedom in 2009. However, Yunus was no saint in the eyes of Sheikh Hasina. When she returned to power in 2008, she labelled Yunus a, quote, bloodsucker of the poor. She accused Grameen Bank of exploiting the poor, and in 2011, Yunus was forced out of the corruption-riddled bank. But a coup in Dhaka, Hasina in exile, a depleted BNP under an out-of-touch Khalida Zia, former Prime Minister and Sheikh Hasina's main rival, Muhammad Yunus managed something that no democracy would allow. A shot at the top job without a single vote casted.
I think Muhammad Yunus has been a failure for the last 8 months. The main problem is that his has been an interim government, not even a caretaker government. But immediately after he came to power in August last year, he was backed by the Jamaat-e-Islami. He was backed by all the Islamist forces. And they started as if they're going to be there for the long term, and they started reforms, which is not the mandate of an interim government. They started changing laws, changing individuals, which is completely not the mandate of an interim government.
While Yunus came to power on the back citing democratic reforms, so far, he has only met extremist leaders. He has banned Hasina's party from contesting elections. He has rejuvenated the ties with Pakistan and the ISI and made irresponsible statements on India's territorial sovereignty while sitting in Beijing.
Eastern part of India, called Seven Sisters. They are landlocked country, landlocked region of India. They have no way to reach out to the ocean. We are the only guardian of the ocean for all this region. So this opens up a huge possibility. So this could be an extension of the Chinese economy. Build things, produce things, market things, bring things to China, bring it out to the whole rest of the world. That's a production house for you. So that's the opportunity we should seize and we should implement, we should get it done.
What Muhammad Yunus miscalculated totally was that after he came to power in August, he started doing two things. First, Muhammad Yunus went to China and came up with a number of projects. And do you know that one of those projects was to revive an old World War II Air Force base in Lalmunirhat, which is very near the Siliguri corridor and very near China, very near, you know, the Doklam and other sensitive places on the China-Bhutan and China-India border. So I think that this is a very dangerous game that Muhammad Yunus has been trying to play.
From the closure of the land ports for Dhaka to clashes on the international border, India and Bangladesh's ties are at an all-time low in the 9-month rule of unelected Muhammad Yunus. Now, his Chief of Army Staff, General Waqar-ur-Zaman, wants him out.
যদি নিজেদের মধ্যে ভেদাভেদ ভুলে একসাথে কাজ না করতে পারেন, নিজেরা যদি কাদা ছোড়াছুড়ি করেন, মারামারি কাটাকাটি করেন, এই দেশ এবং জাতির স্বাধীনতা সার্বভৌমত্ব বিপন্ন হবে। আমি আজকে বলে দিলাম, নাইলে আপনারা বলবেন যে আমি আপনাদের সতর্ক করিনি। আমি সতর্ক করে দিচ্ছি আপনাদের। I had enough. Was last 7-8 months I had enough.
On the 21st of May, the Army Chief, General Waqar-ur-Zaman, he held a big meeting with all his officers. And in that meeting, it was a unanimous meeting, even officers who were on peacekeeping operations, they joined virtually. And in that, he had said very categorically that the army will not tolerate any more mob violence and anarchy. And they said that they will, there's this big question of a humanitarian corridor which they're trying to have to go to the Arakan and have it through Bangladesh. But the anticipation is that arms and weapons and ammunition will go to the Arakan army through that corridor. So all this coming together led to A, the army saying that they do not want the corridor, it's a security threat. B, telling Professor Muhammad Yunus that he is not keeping the army informed on security issues. And C, reminding everybody that the liberation war, the values of the liberation war are non-negotiable.
Now that the rumors are rife in Dhaka about Yunus's potential resignation or another military coup, Yunus called a surprise meeting of his advisory council.
The planning advisor of Bangladesh, Dr. Wahiduddin Mahmood, dismissed the speculation regarding the resignation of the chief advisor, Professor Dr. Muhammad Yunus, after an advisory council meeting on Saturday. He said the chief advisor is staying with us and all the other advisors as well.
While Yunus's loyalists are claiming there is no need to panic, after meeting Yunus, BNP, the leading opposition party in Bangladesh, has made it clear: hold elections by December. Meanwhile, the Bangladeshi society is torn on the prospect of Yunus continuing in power.
একটু বলেন তো যে পদত্যাগ করলে আপনার কাছে কি মনে হয় কেমন হবে?
পদত্যাগ করলে ভালো হইব।
কেন ভালো হবে মনে হচ্ছে?
ভালো ইলেকশন মনে হয়, যদি ইলেকশন না দেয় তো দেশ এইভাবে চলবো। উল্টা পাল্টা দিয়ে বাজার এরিয়া কেউ মানে না তো করে, যে কিন্তু মনে হয় সরকার একটা ক্ষমতা গেলে মনে হয় ভালো। এইবার তো দিনকাল ভালো যাচ্ছে না। এবার কেউ কেউ মানে রাস্তাঘাট, কেউ কেউ মানে না, আইন কানুন কিছু নাই।
আমি মনে করি কি ইউনুস স্যার যদি এই আমাদেরকে এই পথচারী অবস্থা যদি ছেড়ে যায় তাহলে আমাদের দেশটা ধ্বংস হয়ে যাবে।
This sentiment on the ground, expressing dissatisfaction with Yunus, is reflected with more clarity by the likes of author activist Taslima Nasreen and Hasina's son Sajib Wazid. He has unleashed a torrent of unrest in the country, orchestrated jihadi mayhem, destruction and arson by setting his followers loose, says Nasreen. Wajid, in his long post, accuses Yunus of abuse of power and personal ingratiation. Taken together, it's a story of an old man with little experience in governance, getting deluged by the complexities and finally caving in. The political clock is ticking for Yunus. BNP is breathing down his neck. Students who brought him to the chair are restless. The Jamaat is hitting the streets once again. Is it only a matter of time before General Waqar-ur-Zaman moves in and seizes control from Muhammad Yunus? Or will Yunus resign to save face? The only thing that is clear in Dhaka is that the winds of change are blowing.
And I think, first of all, the most important issue is what the army has said, and which the people of Bangladesh wholly support: free, fair and inclusive elections, definitely before December of this year. So this is the bottom line for everybody in Bangladesh, for the political parties, for the people and so on. Now, when you say free, fair and inclusive elections, immediately the question comes, why have they banned Awami League? They're not authorized to ban any political party. They've done it entirely out of spite because they realize that the Awami League is still popular. So my point is that there must be free, fair and inclusive elections. Awami League must be allowed to participate. All other political parties must be allowed to participate.
All right, looking forward to whether Muhammad Yunus is on his way out or not. Joining me for a conversation from Dhaka, Farooq Rahman. He's chairman of the National Labour Party. He's someone who's likely to meet Muhammad Yunus possibly tomorrow. Welcome, Mr. Rahman. And it seems that the army has effectively read the riot act to Muhammad Yunus, after which he sort of suggested that maybe it's time up for him. Is he threatening to resign? Is he actually going to resign? What's happening with Muhammad Yunus in Dhaka?
Thank you very much. Still, I am extremely sorry for that because of the heavy traffic jam now on the way, and I am joining my car. So sorry for that. Thank you very much to inviting me
And I would like to say, just now at this moment, the Yunus is not the regime. So they call as the all political parties meet today and tomorrow will meet us. So that we want to the clear message, Mr. Yunus, the reform of the election commission and reform of the judiciary, so that the is enough time to getting the election credible and the international level standard election up to within the by the December. So actually, the day before yesterday, Yunus says he has to be resigned, but it is a kind of the intentionally. I said so. Bangladesh is a big revelation, and I support the all political parties to the Yunus. So this movement and the democracy is stable. So
Mr.
that
Rahman,
I need the election and the free and fair and credible election.
Mr. Rahman,
by the Yunus.
For a vibrant democracy, it's important that there are free and fair elections. What is the problem in announcing a timeline, a time frame within which elections can be held? I mean, this is not the first time that question has been put up to Mohammad Yunus. Instead of throwing tantrums as he is doing every time, he can just say that, okay, fine, I'll hold elections by December. What's the problem there? BNP is getting impatient. BNP is not Awami League. They are impatient now that Mohammad Yunus is sitting over a timeline. He can announce a date.
Actually, BNP says that all political party alliance first to still now we are requesting and we are pressured to Mr. Yunus is the credible Nirbachan, but they have getting the 5 reforms committee already disclosed their report. So enough time for the credible and fair Nirbachan.
Absolutely. Are you going to tomorrow when you meet him, Mr. Rahman, tomorrow when you're meeting him, are you going to tell him that either announce a date or resign?
No, actually, Yunus want to the decade the half yearly by the passage Sheikh Hasina, so that our police administration are not the properly reform play role, and our army is now at the police procession. They help the Bangladeshis now at this moment they judicially, so that some need time, but enough time is the 9 months already gone.
Absolutely. Mr. Rahman, you in fact said that there is pressure on Yunus, and I believe like the BNP, like the Jamaat, your party also believes, you are saying that 9 months are enough. Are you not, when you meet him, I'm asking again, are you not going to ask him to put a deadline, announce a date or resign?
Yes, thank you. And the first, when the Mr. Yunus is the president house, they shop there. So for the first and up to finally, they are pressure all political alliance.
Right.
Quickly serve the roadmap for the election. So we are not not give up the no more time to Mr. Yunus for the election.
Absolutely.
Actually, we want all alliance and the BNP also, Jamaat, Bangladesh also, the first and the priority basis, we are wanting the election and the time frame by the within the December. So
Absolutely.
we are not the give up the enough time.
Right.
Enough time is the 8 months is that they have done the enough
Right.
time. So no more reform. Now
Right.
at this moment, judicially foolish administration
Right.
and the election. And the
I
election-
really commend you, Mr. Rahman, for being absolutely forthright about your position that no more ifs and buts, no more reforms. What you are saying is that enough time has been given to Yunus. His time is up, in fact, and that he should either announce a date for elections, as everybody wants, from BNP to Jamaat to even your party, the National Labour Party. And of course, those should be free and fair elections. Thank you so much, Mr. Rahman, for joining us on this broadcast. Looking forward to Bangladesh, and moving on to the second one. We are looking forward to how the Indus Water Treaty and the changes that India wants are going to pan out. For over 6 decades, the IWT has been hailed as a rare beacon of cooperation between two bitter rivals, India and Pakistan, brokered by the World Bank in the 1960s, to 1960 to be precise. The treaty survived wars and diplomatic freezes. But now, terror strikes like Pahalgam have tested New Delhi's patience. Time-worn pact is under unprecedented strain. In a world where water is fast becoming the new oil, India's hand on the tap of the Indus system has suddenly become its most powerful diplomatic tool. What happens when rivers that once promised peace turn into instruments of power? Is Pakistan facing an existential water crisis, or is it going to face one? Is it ready to face it? In this special ground report, we unpack the geopolitics, the treaty, the stalled infrastructure, and the shifting strategies that may define the next great contest in the region. Not over land, but over water. And rightly so, because as victims of terror, India has its right to make use of everything available to inflict costs on Pakistan. Here are the details.
In September 1960, India and Pakistan, under the mediation of the World Bank, signed the Indus Waters Treaty. The agreement allocated the waters of the Indus River system between the two nations. Pakistan received control over the western rivers Indus, Jhelum and Chenab, while India retained rights to the eastern rivers Ravi, Beas and Satluj. On paper, the treaty promised balance, but the rivers told a different story. The western rivers, following through Pakistan, carry nearly 80% of the basin's waters. India's eastern rivers, though vital, are far less generous. This inherent imbalance has long fueled debate that the treaty favors Pakistan disproportionately.
As per Indus Water Treaty, Pakistan got the share of River Chenab, River Jhelum and River Indus, while India got the access to the western rivers. But most of the flow that comes from Jammu and Kashmir goes to the Pakistan as per Indus Water Treaty. And this is what the Jammu and Kashmir has always been objecting to. Jammu and Kashmir has given several memorandums for the renegotiation of the Indus Water Treaty, as J&K has always said that it is their resources and they are not getting the due compensation or due share. And even after the treaty being kept in abeyance, Jammu and Kashmir has said that it needs to be compensated and there needs to be renegotiation on the terms that the Pakistan is getting.
Among the vital components in this system is the Jugular Lake, the largest freshwater lake in Asia, located on the Jhelum River. For decades, the Tulbul Barrage project at Jugular Lake has been stalled, a source of contention between the two nations. Designed to regulate water flow and improve navigation, this barrage remains a symbol of unfulfilled potential, caught in the web of treaty disputes.
I'm standing on the banks of Jugular Lake in the Kashmir Valley, and this is one of the Asia's largest fresh water lake, and this is a critical piece at the moment because of the escalating water dispute between India and Pakistan. On April 24th, Government of India decided holding Indus Waters Treaty in ambience. It is because blaming for counter-terrorism and also after Pahalgam attack that killed 26 people. Pakistan calls it a death sentence for its people, sustaining fishing community and agriculture. Jugular Lake is a lifeline, but it's also tied to the Tulbul navigation project, a barrage upstream that India now plans to revive. This lake could store water from the Jhelum River, water that Pakistan is in need for this water.
Further downstream, India's Baglihar Dam on the Chenab River stands as a testament to the treaty's complexities. While constructed within the treaty's framework, it became the center of prolonged arbitration as Pakistan raised objections.
The construction of Baglihar Dam began in year 1998, and it was in 2008 when first phase of Baglihar became operational, and in 2015 the second phase of Baglihar Dam became operational, and both the phases have the equal capacity of 450 megawatt that helps in the production of electricity. The height of this dam is 144.5 meters and it has the capacity of 450 million cubic meter of the water storage, and the runoff water that flows down to Pakistan is close to 27 million acre feet. Pakistan has always been objecting to the changes that India proposes to the Baglihar Dam. India has time and again made it very clear to the Pakistan that the changes India is proposing is only for the dam's infrastructural security and it is not to harm the interest of Pakistan. But Pakistan has always been like this, that they objected to it, terming is at the threat to their water security levels, that water goes to Pakistan will be stopped by India. Though in 2005 there was an international arbitration team visiting Jammu and Kashmir and giving India a go-ahead, Pakistan continues to take up this issue at multiple platforms.
Despite enduring multiple conflicts, including the wars of 1965, 1971 and 1999, the treaty remained intact. India's commitment to upholding the agreement, even amid hostilities, showcased a dedication to peace and regional stability. But the world has changed. The spectre of cross-border terrorism now shadows the treaty. Climate change tightens its grip, melting glaciers. Erratic monsoons and shifting demographics alter the water demands of millions. In the wake of the Pahalgam terror attack, the fragile fabric of the Indus Waters Treaty was severely tested. New Delhi suspended the agreement with Islamabad, leaving a devastating impact of the country's economic framework.
इंडस वाटर ट्रीटी जो दोनों ममालिक के दरमियान जो एक एग्रीमेंट हुआ था, फिर मार्शल अयूब खान और पंडित जवाहरलाल नेहरू ऑन सम सर्टेन कंडीशंस, उसमें जम्मू कश्मीर को उसको उसके हवाले से कंपनसेट किया जाना था, वो तो हुआ नहीं। आज सूरत हाल ये बन गई है कि हमारे दरिया, हमारे पहाड़, हमारे जंगलात, हमारा पानी हमारी मलकियत में नहीं है। अगर इसका नुकसान देखा जाए तो सबसे ज़्यादा जम्मू कश्मीर के लोगों को इसका नुकसान है।
Pakistan is feeling the jitters.
अगर ये पानी का क्राइसिस नहीं अभी सॉल्व करेंगे तो हम भूखे मर सकते हैं। उसकी वजह ये है कि इंडस बेसिन जो है वो ही हमारा लाइफलाइन है। 3/4 जो पानी हमारा आता है सर टोटल बाहर से आता है। हमारी 10 में से 9 लोग जो है ये इंडस वाटर बेसिन के ऊपर ही रिलाय करके अपनी जिंदगी बसर कर रहे हैं।
For India, this turbulent period has opened a window to fast-track vital infrastructure, most notably the long-stalled Tulbul barrage and optimization of reservoirs like Baglihar.
India's decision to suspend the treaty means projects like this The Tulbul barrage could reduce flow, starting right here where from we are reporting at Jugular Lake. Pakistan citizens see the treaty's suspension as an existential threat. Here at Jugular Lake, the water flows calmly for now, but downstream, it is the life that is under siege.
Experts contend that the Tulbul project must be prioritized and be restored to what it was in 1960 at the earliest.
One of the biggest things which had been pending is the Tulbul navigation project. It started in 84 and 84 will be 41 years ago. So at that time they objected and it was stalled in 87. After that we tried to construct it and do the things, but somehow we have not been able to.
Looking further ahead to the next decade, India's ambitions are even bolder. A comprehensive national strategy for inter-basin water transfers may reshape the subcontinent's water map. Bringing lifelines to parched lands and stabilizing agricultural economies.
If the government thinks that it is doable, and that is why it had started the Tulbul navigation project in 1984. The first thing to do is dredge the Jugular and restore it to the size as it was on September 19, 1960, because that was the day the treaty was signed. So restoring Jugular to the size as it existed on September 19, 1960 does not constitute any violation of the treaty.
The expert views are reflected on ground too. Listen in to this local near the Baglihar Dam site.
एक मिशन चल रहा है, जल जीवन मिशन, उसमें हमें कई तरह की परेशानियों का सामना करना पड़ा। हमें मोटर लगाने पड़ रहे हैं, हमें पता नहीं क्या क्या मैकेनिकल का वो सिस्टम यूज़ करना पड़ रहा है। अगर इससे बेहतर है कि हमारे पास पानी है, हमारे बगलिहार का इतना बड़ा पानी, बगलिहार के छोड़कर जो इंडस वाटर जो था, ये पानी जो पाकिस्तान जा रहा है, इस पाकिस्तान के पानी को अगर हम जैसे प्रोजेक्ट्स है, प्रोजेक्ट्स के बाद अगर जो पानी आगे जा रहा है, इसको क्यों नहीं हम अपने एरियो में यूज़ करें, खेती बाड़ी में यूज़ करें, क्यों हम इसको आगे जाने दें?
India could also craft a water doctrine, silent but powerful, deterrent, leveraging hydropower projects and water infrastructure as strategic assets. The Indus is more than a river. It is the lifeblood of millions, a symbol of history, identity, and survival.
All right, the facts are damning, and one wonders if you look at and listen to these voices from the ground of the experts and, of course, the government. It's clear that it was a badly drafted treaty. Joining me in this conversation, Mr. Brahma Chelani. He's a strategic thinker and someone who's an expert on river water sharing, international river water sharing systems. He's written a book on Brahmaputra that traverses between Tibet, China, and India. Very good evening to you, Mr. Chelani. First up, can I ask a straight question? Should we even bother to keep it in abeyance? Should we not just scrap the Indus Water Treaty? It seems like a very badly drafted document.
That's a question that the government needs to answer, because international law is clear. When a treaty's fundamental conditions collapse or one party violates the treaty persistently, the other party has the right to suspend or withdraw. Yet, India has neither suspended nor withdrawn from the Indus Waters Treaty. It has placed it in abeyance. That's a term neither defined in international law nor spelled out by India. India has not said what keeping the treaty in abeyance means in practice. In other words, India has adopted a position of strategic ambiguity. Strategic ambiguity to what end? The government hasn't clarified, because this is a very unequal treaty, an unequal treaty that has been violated repeatedly by Pakistan, because any treaty is created not on paper alone, but on trust. And trust is precisely what Pakistan has shattered time and again through its unwavering commitment to trans-border terrorism. The Indus Waters Treaty, as its preamble says, was founded on the principle of peaceful coexistence. So how can terrorism, trans-border terrorism, coexist with a treaty founded on peaceful coexistence?
Absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, Mr. Challani, since you quoted the preamble, there is another line in it which says this is signed in a spirit of goodwill. Now look at the manner in which Pakistan has conducted itself. Specific to the Indus Water Treaty, Tulbul Barrage, the Kashmiris want changes there. Pakistan thinks or wants the world to believe that it cries for Kashmir and the Kashmiris. Yet, it carried out a terror attack at the Tulbul Barrage, at the Jugular Lake, just a year back. It has objected to every project on the eastern rivers, which are India's right, Baglehar, Kishan Ganga, Ratle. So, I find myself in agreement with you, but what's the way forward?
Pakistan has repeatedly objected to every Indian hydropower project in J&K because Pakistan's objective is to keep J&K underdeveloped so that there is discontent in J&K. So every small engineering difference, they sought to litigate at the international level by either seeking the appointment of a neutral expert or seeking international arbitration. Now, this has been going on for decades now, and government after government has done nothing about the Indus Waters Treaty. And even the Modi government has been talking for many years now. For example, in 2016, Prime Minister Modi said, blood and water cannot flow together. Now, 9 years later almost, he repeated the same line recently, last week. But in those 9 intervening years, India hasn't built any infrastructure to create riparian leverage against Pakistan. If India were to create riparian leverage in the Indus Basin, it will be a cheaper option for India to reform Pakistan's behavior than fighting a war. As the upper riparian state, India, by creating sufficient leverage, would be able to mount escalating riparian pressures on Pakistan. In fact, such leverage can serve as the most potent instrument in India's arsenal against Pakistan, potentially more powerful than the nuclear weapons option. The nuclear weapons option is essentially for deterrence.
Yeah.
But if you have riparian leverage over Pakistan through hydro infrastructure, then you can ensure that Pakistan stays on good behavior. So we need to translate our rhetoric into action. Just at the rhetorical level, if we keep saying things and we do not actually create the hydrological infrastructure on the ground, then such rhetoric actually can backfire on us because it will hand Pakistan an emotive card. As it is in recent days, there have been mass protests in Sindh against Pakistani Punjab building new canals to divert water, and also Pakistani Punjab introducing corporate farming. So there have been mass protests in Sindh, and people have been killed in police firings in Sindh. So water is a very emotive card, and we should be careful that our rhetoric is backed by real action.
Mr. Challani, could it be because beyond the treaty obligations, there might be some international law which might be hindering? For example, none other than the Jammu and Kashmir Chief Minister, Omar Abdullah, he has spoken about dredging of the Tulbul barrage of the Jugular Lake. We have many studies commissioned on raising the heights of some of these dams, including the phase 2 of Baglehar, and yet the government has not been able to implement? I mean, you think there is some technicality involved? Because there is I don't see absence of will or intent. It's just some execution issue on the ground. And if yes, how can we sort it out?
First, Bagliahar is not a dam. It's a run-of-river project. The Indus Waters Treaty only allows India to build a run-of-river projects that do not have a dam reservoir on the western rivers, which are reserved for Pakistan's exclusive use. The biggest river in the Indus Basin, there are 6 rivers in the Indus Basin, the biggest river in terms of trans-boundary flows is not the Indus, it's the Chenab, followed by the Jhelum, and then followed by the Indus, and the 3 small rivers, Satluj, Ravi and Bias, have been reserved for India. The reason why India has not created infrastructure, in fact, India has not even utilized its own rights as laid out in the Indus Waters Treaty. To give you one example, the Indus Waters Treaty allows India to create storage capacity on the western rivers, the rivers that are reserved for Pakistan, storage capacity of 32 million acre feet. 3.2 million acre feet. 3.2 million acre feet on the western rivers, but we have created storage capacity of only 0.3 million acre feet. So even what the Indus Waters Treaty has allowed India, even those rights we have not put into practice. The reason is our bureaucratic culture.
Right.
And the lack of strategic long-term planning. Those are the 2 main reasons.
Right.
And unless we do not address these 2 things, we will continue to talk and not really build riparian leverage against Pakistan.
Right, Mr. Chelani. Hopefully, the concerned bureaucrats would be listening and this time not misread the impatience of India. On that note, thank you so much, Mr. Chelani, for joining us with that perspective. And moving on, friends, to the third one. He is the man of the moment, so to say. India's National Security Advisor, Ajit Doval, spearheaded every aspect of Operation Sindoor from its conception to final execution. Behind the exactness of the achievement was decades of painstaking work on the ground, as a sleuth, as a spy, as the faceless operative, and finally, as the chief of the national security architecture. As NSA, Doval also nurtures relationships that keep India in good stead when it comes to defense, the most crucial of which is, of course, the one with Russia. Remember, the BrahMos missile that flattened Jaish-e-Mohammed headquarters in Bahawalpur is a joint Indo-Russian project. The Sukhoi from which it was fired is also an Indo-Russian venture. Now, the S-400 that sits at the pinnacle of India's air defense system is also Russian origin. Doval is going to be in Moscow this week to further develop this connect. Whether it is about buying more S-400s or making sure that the China dynamic, which has come into serious play during Operation Sindoor on the Pakistani side, of course, does not affect the steady ship of India-Russia ties. And perhaps a message to Washington also. Take a look. The boom of BrahMos missiles pulverized the headquarters of Jaish-e-Mohammed in Bahawalpur in the intervening night of May 6 and 7. There was no asking proof this time. It was on the ground, in the air, recorded by Pakistani cell phones and acknowledged by a shaken Pakistan government. And when Pakistan attempted to retaliate, India's air defenses proved more than a match.
अटैक हुआ है नूर खान बेस पे बिल्कुल घर के सामने अभी एक
neutralizing all Pakistani projectiles and in one case shooting an incoming missile right inside Pakistani territory, thanks to the superior S-400 missile defense shield. The same S-400 Pakistan claimed to have hit, but never did.
आपके पराक्रम की वजह से आज ऑपरेशन सिंदूर की गूंज हर कोने में सुनाई दे रही है। ऑपरेशन सिंदूर कोई सामान्य सैन्य अभियान नहीं है। ये भारत की नीति, नियत और निर्णायक क्षमता की त्रिवेणी है। जब हमारी बहनों बेटियों का सिंदूर छीना गया तो हमने आतंकियों के फन को उनके घर में घुस के कुचल दिया। भारत की ओर नजर उठाने का एक ही अंजाम होगा, तबाही।
As you could see in those pictures, the S-400 stands majestically in the background as Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressed IAF personnel at the Adampur Air Base.
This robust AD system comprises of a large variety of multi-layered AD sensors and weapon systems, from point defense weapons like the low-level air defense guns, shoulder-fired manpads, and short-range surface-to-air missiles or SAMs, to area defense weapons like the air defense fighters and longer-range surface-to-air missiles within our inventory. Additionally, the numerous waves of drones and unmanned combat aerial vehicles employed by Pakistan were also thwarted by the indigenously developed soft and hard kill counter-US systems and the well-trained Indian air defense personnel. All this was brought together as an efficient and effective AD environment by the Integrated Air Command and Control System or the ISCCS of the Indian Air Force.
With Pakistan given a bloody nose, the man who oversaw the execution and every other detail of Operation Sindoor, National Security Advisor Ajit Doval, is already looking ahead. He is off to Moscow for an appraisal visit this coming week. On his plate, negotiations with Russia on bolstering the defense supplies, including fast-tracking delivery of remaining 2 S-400 systems. This audience of Doval with President Putin last year was a message to those watching Asia's geopolitics. India and Russia have a long enduring partnership which has weathered turbulence on many occasions past.
Especially and personally, and brief you about the talks.
India had ordered 5 S-400 systems, of which 3 were delivered on time. But after the Ukraine war that Russia launched in 2022, the supplies of the remaining 2 are stuck, something which Doval has to sort out. An expectation is building up in Moscow.
Both with their own individual, more recent difficulties at the moment, but they've stood by each other. Of course, India, supported by the Soviet Union even back in 1971 in the conflict against Pakistan. So this is a long-standing relationship. It's a very fond one. Your president, our president of Russia, Vladimir Putin, and Narendra Modi, very close, very friendly, embracing each other the last time they met. So it's an important meeting. And it's important now more than ever, probably. India facing threats from terrorism, the terrible attack in Kashmir, which killed 26 Indians, sparking this latest conflict with Pakistan, again, where Russian military equipment was used by the Indian side, the S-400 air defense system, fighter jets. So there's lots to talk about. And almost India is seen as an honest broker here in Russia, maybe in relation to Ukraine and the West, whereas Russia can also be seen as an honest broker potentially for India when it's talking to its partners and neighbours and friends that it may have some difficulties with. So it's a very, very important meeting, and it's a very, very important visit.
NSA Doval is also to prepare ground for the upcoming visit of President Putin to New Delhi later this year, as part of the annual summit dialogue between the two sides.
Well, I'm sure elements of President Putin's much anticipated visit will be discussed, and there's a lot of logistical things that need to happen for the president of a huge power to go on a state visit, and it's an important visit as well. So there'll be lots to discuss. There'll be agendas which will be set. Again, I think it will be about international cooperation. It will be about trade. There's always discussion about trade. India has become an exceptionally important trading partner for Russia.
America should watch closely. After raking up Kashmir without merits, the Trump administration might have infused a new rigor in the India-Russia relationship, which has stood the test of time. Understand the implications and the possibilities of NSA Doval's visit to Moscow. Joining me from London, India's former Foreign Secretary and National Security expert, Mr. Kanwal Sibal. Very good evening to you, sir. Thanks for joining us. And given the fact that NSA Doval's visit is happening in the backdrop of Operation Sindoor, what can we expect from this?
A few things. One, I think we must understand that the real power in Russia, the real policy makers, although it is true of most countries, because the power is in a PMO here, real power in terms of top decision making, likewise in the White House. But in Russia, it is the Kremlin, not so much the Foreign Office. So if you want to send a message to the Kremlin and the real policy makers, then you have to go outside the Foreign Office channels. And NSA, to my understanding, is actually the real person who communicates India's thinking and positions at the highest level to Russia. You know, he had this very close relationship with Patrushev, who was the head of their National Security Council. Although today he's not there in that position, but he's an advisor to President Putin. And NSA Doval has had very close ties with Patrushev, and Patrushev is the real power in the Kremlin. So that's one. Number two, I think the occasion will be used to give the Kremlin a proper briefing of this Operation Sindoor and what was achieved and what was not achieved.
Yeah.
Number three, it will be an occasion to thank Russia for continuing support by way of arms supplies and spares and everything else, because for preparing this operation, we needed to be sure that the vast amounts of Russian equipment that we have are available to us.
Yeah.
And my understanding is that Russia has been helpful. So the third thing would be to thank Russia for that. Number four, we will certainly need now more weaponry, certain other gaps that we may have discovered during this operation where we need those. I think we would probably be discussing that with the Kremlin so that those future supplies keep coming in.
Right.
Number four or number five, I think given what President Trump has been doing of late, of equating India and Pakistan in a very objectionable way, and repeatedly doing that, I think there is a signal in this that we have options.
Yeah.
In fact, Russia will always remain an option as a hedging strategy, as a balancing strategy, but more than that, as a confidence in a relationship that has been durable and largely problem-free for the last 70 years. In addition to this, there are two other things that should be on the agenda. One is to ask the Russians to be more active in the UN Security Council, in their permanent members, in terms of listing these fellows from Pakistan under the 1257 1267 committee. Russia is helpful,
yes,
but my understanding is that countries like France and others are much more active in this regard. Russia goes along, but we will need Russia to be more active. Now, the last couple of points. Pakistan is very active in Moscow. I can tell you, I was ambassador there.
Yeah.
And I mean, their whole strategy is that since it is a very stable, long-standing relationship, how they can interfere in this relationship in some way to create some misunderstandings between India and Russia.
Yes.
And they have this Tashkent thing in mind where Russia took a neutral position and was a mediator, so they keep appealing to them. They also keep dangling the possibility of buying arms from them and this and that. So I think we need to actually do a little lobbying of sorts with Russia, that they should take a more active stance in international organizations and SCO and BRICS and all that on the terror threat that we face from Pakistan. And finally, the China factor.
Yes.
I think there has to be a discussion on that as to how we assess China's role and what China is doing with Pakistan. Pakistan is going to rearm itself. Let's not have any illusions on that. Whatever gaps they have discovered, they will appeal to the Chinese to fill those gaps for them, so that in the next round they feel that they are better prepared. There's no sense in this fellow declaring himself a field marshal if he doesn't intend to have a second round. So I think there should be a discussion on that. And finally, President Putin's visit to India.
Very well said, sir. I think the preparation for President Putin's visit would, of course, be a very important aspect of the conversations that happened there. But before I let you go, one quick question. I mean, while you were speaking, this thought was coming to my mind. Tell me if I am right or wrong, that despite the China tilt of late, New Delhi increasingly finds Russia or Moscow as a more stable partner vis-a-vis Washington, D.C.
Yes, I agree with you. In geopolitical terms, in political terms, certainly a more stable partner. In defense terms, a more important partner because most of our equipment still is from there. But I think there's a difference between being a stable partner and the gamut of relationship that we have. The gamut of relationship with the United States is much wider. But United States is not a trustworthy partner and changeable partner. Yeah. And that's where we need to keep our strategic autonomy, and to maintain that, it's very vital that we have a strong relationship with Russia.
Right, absolutely. Thank you so much, sir, with your words of wisdom, as always. And thank you again for joining us from London, sparing your time. And with this, friends, I come to end of this very new experiment we have done on Republic TV, the long-form looking ahead format every Sunday. And tomorrow, of course, 8 p.m., join Arnab Goswami for Super Primetime Max. Thanks for watching.